When we're working with any type of application, forms are a huge part of our apps. Forms are the primary way that we're going to get information from our users, and then we're going to work with that information to affect our applications and change things around. With that in mind, Angular 2 gives us a couple different ways to work with Angular forms as opposed to Angular 1. It also gives us a very similar way to work with forms as we did in Angular 1. We'll explore two of those options right now. First, we'll create a new component. Under app users, create a new file called user_form.component.ts. Now this is our third component. We have the app component, we have the user profile component. This is our user form component. We should be able to create this pretty quickly now. We'll do import component. And we don't need input or anything like that since there's no inputs for this from the Angular core. We'll import user from shared models user. Then we'll create our component with our component decorator. Selector is user form. Template. And let's export our class first. Class user form. All right, and that will be good enough to create our component. Let's register that in app module. And this could get a little tedious. We'll explore another way to define all of these external modules in a next lesson. But for now, we'll just do user form component from add that to the declarations. We'll go into app component HTML. And we'll add this component to the bottom of our user list. Now we can go to that form component just really quickly. I am the form. I want to make sure everything is wired up and we can see that in our application. Perfect. We can see our new component ready to work. Let's start building out this form now. Form, and we'll lean on these bootstrap classes again. Form group. Input type is text. Class is form control. And let's make this required. Oh, and of course the name is name. And we have one for username. And a button type submit with a button class, button large, button block, and button primary. That is enough to create our very simple form. We'll take a look. We have our form there. Let's add a little bit of styling to clean it up. Below the selector, we're going to add styles, and we'll do this inline here since we don't have too many. Form, and notice I can just use the form element since our Shadow DOM and our Angular 2 styles won't leak out of this component. So by calling form, we're only styling the form in this template. We'll set the background to a gray. Let's find the gray on here. I have a color picker. All right, copy that. Paste that in here. Let's give it a border radius of 3 pixels. That will be good. Let's see what that looks like. All right, that's perfect. Now we have the create user button and our create user form. That's the setup that we need for our form. Next up, we'll start looking at a couple different ways Angular 2 lets us work with the data coming out of this form.